Better?
Yeah, lots better. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing?
Hello.
You don't know this, but we do. This is the second time that we've done this.
Yeah. Welcome to Seeker Aspirant.
Thank you, Anarchy, for the opening music. Kick ass. So, want to say thanks. You and Jenny filled in for me magnificently.
Yeah.
Did a great job. I was down in California on vacation with my dad, and I got to listen to it on a walk. And I really thought the work you did with spiritual autolysis was brilliant and really good.
Thank you.
Okay, so you want to read the poem?
Yes.
We're going to move straight into this. We're going to get going.
Both in and out of the game. Apart from the pulling and hauling, stands what I am. It's a horribly timed phone call.
What?
I'm getting a phone call. 1 second.
Very professional podcast here. Shit like this happens.
All right, will you hold that up for me? Thank you.
Sirius 96, how are you?
Both in and out of the game. Apart from the pulling and hauling, stands what I am. Stands amused, complacent, compassionatingly idle, unitary. Looks down, is erect, or bends an arm on an impalpable certain rest. Looking with side-curved head, curious what will come next. Both in and out of the game, and watching and wondering at it. Walt Whitman.
Probably one of my least favorite poems here, other than the title, both in and out of the game, which would describe very much Jed's enlightened status.
Oh, he talks about like mountain before enlightenment isn't a mountain.
Before enlightenment, a mountain is a mountain. During enlightenment, a mountain is no longer a mountain. After enlightenment, a mountain is a mountain again.
Thank you. Yeah, all that.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next chapter. As you know, sometimes he puts little poems in between. So we just read the poem, and now we're going into the chapter following Heartless.
Yes. Why chatter about delusion and enlightenment? Thus shall ye think of all this fleeting world, a star at dawn, a bauble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. Buddha.
Thus shall you think.
Thus shall you think all the world.
As a flickering dream. So the Buddha is telling us that when you get enlightened, it's all going to appear dreamlike, which is a thematic theme through everything Jed talks about.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm reading one of these and I wonder, why is this significant? And then I read the last word, which is dream, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
that was it.
One of the things for me on this piece here is I've experienced it a few times, where usually when something so absurd happens that I kind of look around and I'm like, okay, so this is a dream. Like I can see the wizard behind the curtain. I don't know if anyone out there has had that same experience, where you're like, you look around and you're like, okay, I saw the cat walk by twice in the Matrix. You saw the thing that kind of gives you that moment of going, oh,
yeah.
Okay, let's read.
It's Thursday night, prime time. So most of the gang is down in the basement TV room watching the week's best lineup of shows. I like sitcoms and dramas when they're well written and somewhat fresh, so I quietly slip into the back of the room and take a seat. Several people see me come in and begin to react, but I wave them down and they get the idea. When discussing personal tastes like food or music or TV and movies and whatnot, I would never mean to suggest what my tastes are and that my tastes are in any way elevated. I have a fairly narrow band of appreciation, but it has little to do with enlightenment stuff. With TV, movies, and novels, I don't shun horror or violence. I get weepy at the right parts. I laugh when something strikes me as funny. The willing suspension of disbelief may come a little harder for me than most, not in the conventional sense, but in a sense of forming an empathetic bond with the plight of the characters. The same holds true in real life.
Yeah.
I see people fulfilling their roles and acting like themselves, and I tend to forget that they really identify with their character and their character's plight. There's some whispering in the room as word of my presence is passed around. Some heads turn, people smile. I don't come down here often, don't do the mingling thing much, but tonight I just felt like watching something with other people. I'm a little concerned that my presence will detract from the viewing for the group, but there's nothing wrong with making them a little uncomfortable. Maybe it will get them to somehow reevaluate their own views of the programs we're watching. Maybe my presence will make them self-conscious so they observe themselves observing dramatic performances, which might in turn encourage them to become detached observers in their own dramatic performances. Or maybe we're all just zoning out in front of the TV. I'm not really a people person. I don't understand people, and I don't identify with them. I don't identify with my own status as a man, or as a person, or as a human being. I have a very distinct impression of life as a stage drama, and I find it endlessly mystifying that anyone truly identifies with their character. I watch my own life with amused detachment. I may be doing this or that, filling my role, but I'm almost always out in the seat somewhere, watching it all, as unprepared for the next thing I do as anyone else. Being a detached observer is my reality, and I find it belief-defying that everyone isn't the same, that they're up in their characters playing out all this life stuff like it's for real. Sometimes I think that grabbing them by the shoulders and shaking them or slapping them will snap them out of it. Not really, but kind of.
So there's two pieces there. And one, I think, is that he just hits them on such a useful piece. And he talks about this to Maggie at the end of book 3, when he gives her the witnessing thing. So when you're trying to become a human adult, again, this you don't even have to wait to be enlightened. You don't have to take the first step. You don't have to go through that. You really can start to practice this. This is a specific practice. You can find it either here. I mean, you've got enough information here. If you want enough detail, you could go get it in book 3, Spiritual Warfare, which is very, very detailed. And you're going to find it elsewhere. A lot of Zen, Buddhist, Hindu, Tantra, Taoist witnessing. You can throw a stick and hit a monk who can teach you how to witness. But it's really, really useful because it starts the human integration process, the human adulthood process of unidentifying with your character. And you gain a lot of freedom and power that way. And the degree to which you're there, life flows. And you know when you're not, when you just get in the soup pot and you're suddenly just fucked. And again, it happens to me all the time. I'm in the soup pot. But when I'm out of the soup pot, it's a really good place to be. So it's a real worthwhile practice. It is it is one of the practices that I don't know if it'll get you necessarily enlightened, but it's a step in that area. It's something that kind of comes along with the enlightenment, but you can practice it without getting enlightened and get great benefit from it. And what was the last sentence? There were 2 things I wanted to say.
Sometimes I think that grabbing them by the shoulders, shaking them, or slapping them will snap them out of it. Not really, but kind of.
Yeah, I got to admit, he brings that up, more than once. I think there's a space, a great elevator pitch he talks about. If you could, people on the theory of everything, he goes, there's a part of him that believes if he could just talk to any religious person on an elevator for 30 seconds, that within 30 seconds, he could just disabuse them of the notion. And of course, that's just not true. But so it's interesting. I didn't remember that he had said it here too. Yeah, and I think it's him who says it, but it might be someone else, but it might be him who says, the problem with truth is once you see it, you think it starts to count for something. But it doesn't. You just see truth. It doesn't help them see truth.
I experienced that a lot, I think. Or it feels like it. I watch myself being wisdom guy, and I can't believe anyone really falls for it. I can't believe that this stuff isn't obvious to everybody. Truth doesn't need to be sought because it isn't lost. It's not at the end of some path waiting to be discovered. It's not the result of practice or growth or learning. Truth is everywhere at all times, never absent, never distant. Truth isn't the tricky thing. It's the simplest thing there is, that which can't be simplified further. Possessing the ability to not see truth, now that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. In fact, I would never believe it was even possible if I hadn't done it myself for 30 years.
It's interesting because there are meditative states, Zen meditative states that you can get to that place. You could just stand back and be the witness and see it all just as a shimmer of light. And I've been there many times, but then I just pop right back into my human body. And his path of burning up your fears and attachments is the only way to really get there.
Yeah,
It's different because you can do it. You can sit back and witness yourself and stand back and go further back and further back and further back, and you feel a sense of detachment. In fact, you get disconnected with your body, like your breath starts to slow down, and you can get really super shallow. There's a lot of practices that will get you there, but it's like you're not actually doing anything. You come back into your body because you're not burning away your attachment to it, which is what spiritual autolysis is about.
I look back on my own life before enlightenment as a sleep state from which I was able to rouse myself, and I think of everyone I see as being in that same sleep state, like somnambulists, sleepwalking, and sleep talking through life.
Would you spell that for me so that we can actually...
SOMNAMBULISTS.
Okay. An abnormal condition of sleep in which motor acts as walking are performed. Sleepwalkers.
All right. Like sleepwalkers, sleepwalking, and sleep talking through life.
Is that what he just says after?
No, I just replaced the word with sleepwalkers.
Okay.
Better. This view is not peculiar to me. Anyone who is awake would say the same thing. I see my role as being someone who shines a light into sleeping minds and see if they are looking for it. This view is not peculiar to me. Anyone who was awake would say the same thing. I see my role as being someone who shines a light into sleeping minds, and if they're looking for it, and if they want to awaken, and if they're willing to struggle upward out of the clinging grasp of the dream state, then I maybe can be assistance. I don't see it as my role to save or rescue anybody, any more than regular people feel the need to rescue each other from sleeping and dreaming. I don't think of people as victims or patients or in any way defective, just asleep, unconscious. Some will emerge from their dream state, and I may play a role in that, or I may be of some assistance to them once they're awake. I'm a gate tender. I holler through the portal, and those who can hear me receive a sense of direction, and those who come through find a friend to welcome them.
I love that image that, like you're with someone and maybe they're napping and you're like, Asher, what if they're dreaming? What if they're fucking dreaming? We gotta wake them motherfuckers up. We gotta wake them up. We gotta keep them awake so they don't fucking fall asleep. Yeah, you wouldn't do that, right? He's like, oh, wake up. So you're walking around. Cause some pain, walking around going, Jesus, everyone's asleep. He talks about that. Everyone's a child. Everyone's a zombie. That would be really peculiar. Damned peculiar.
Yeah. For a second.
Okay, where are we at?
At the end of.
Okay. Tonight's shows are pretty good. A bunch of comedies and a 1-hour drama. It's getting near the end of the season, so the comedies are trying to deepen our love for them, and the drama is building up to its suspenseful cliffhanger, all in an effort to still be our favorites when the distant fall season begins. It's not long before I find it a little irksome to be sitting in a basement watching facile TV antics when it's such a beautiful and long-awaited spring evening outside. So I go upstairs, grab a magazine, and go out on the front porch to read. As I rock back and forth in a porch glider, my mind strays from the words on the page to the number of people who seem to be around here these days. What are they coming out for? Some I know are coming out 4 or 5 times for everyone chat that they're having with me. This place is developing into something and I don't know what. I'm amused by the thought that we might have to build bunkhouses and remind myself not to joke about bunkhouses aloud, or a few weeks later I'll look out the window and there they'll be. That's how it is in dreams. Thoughts become things practically before they're thought. On a short side note, I was reading something, listened to a podcast again by that Joe Dispenza guy. Kind of iffy, but I heard something he said and it made me think of this kind of manifestation. So someday we'll have to visit that.
Joe Dispenza?
Yeah, I've mentioned him before. It occurs to me that people are coming out because they think they'll benefit simply by being near me. I wouldn't care to see things develop along those lines. I can see where people want to perform selfless service, so they might be coming out, tithing to the household, laboring for whatever ideal they feel the house represents, bringing gifts, all in the hope of what? Earning merit? Burning karma? Exhibiting unconditional love for its own sake? I really don't have a clue. Of course, some are mainly here for Sanaya. She doesn't teach or even speak much outside the normal course of getting things done, and yet she possesses that which so many seek. Perfect equanimity. The people that come out here seem to enjoy working for her, as if they had been wanting to give of themselves but were unable to find the right framework within which to do so. Sanaya combines the attributes of selflessness and causelessness, allowing people to give of themselves not for the higher good of some doctrine or organization, but simply for the giving. I can see where people would want to do that, and I can see where it might be difficult to find an outlet for such a desire. In Sanaya, they see selflessness perfected, poise, balance, unerring rightness, and that provides them with a shining example of where selfless service leads. Very interesting the direction this Iowa farmhouse is taking, the thing, whatever it is, that it's evolving into. I'll have to think about this some more, or not. The fact that everything goes along perfectly well without me sticking my nose in. Another fact is that I really don't care who's coming or why. It's a nice place, and it has a nice feel to it, and that hasn't changed. We're not throwing kegger parties at night that I've noticed. Nobody's running around naked or sacrificing squirrels that I've noticed. I don't think the place is turning into a commune, and I'm pretty sure Sanaya wouldn't let it. Annie runs out and curls up in my lap. She sticks her thumb in her mouth and is instantly asleep. I can't read with her here, so I set the magazine down and enjoy the evening. A poem by Ryokan comes to mind. Too lazy to be ambitious. I let the world take care of itself. 10 days worth of rice in my bag, a bundle of twigs by the fireplace. Why chatter about delusion and enlightenment? Listening to the night rain on my roof, I sit comfortably with both legs stretched out. One of my favorites. Oh, hey guys, I need to go sleep now. I can barely keep my eye open. Have a good night. Peace. Peace to you, Sirius. Thanks for joining with us. We were really late starting.
I guess we were.
We'll catch you on the flip side. We're actually done with the chapter.
Is that the end of that chapter?
Yep. So the next chapter, Kill the Buddha, is coming up. That'll be the next time we do it. That's a good long one. So what do you think? Where you at with all this?
I don't know. I guess chapters like that are good because like the chapter before it was really dense and important.
Mm-hmm.
So he does a good job of balance and not overloading you too much, I think. So then in this chapter, I don't know, it's just, I really love the details about Sanaya.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my favorite part of the chapter.
And she's mentioned a couple times in future books, but not much. She's not in the future books.
No. Well,
but she'd be very interesting. It's too bad Jed has done such work to hide his identity, huh, Jed? so worried that we're going to follow after you and offer to give you all our money so you'll teach us. But it's too bad we can't find Sanaya, because that would be an experience. You know, she may not be interested in teaching, but being in her presence and selfless service, it does sound like something. Actually, to me, it sounds like an interesting experience.
Me too.
Like, yeah, you know, and she clearly has that equanimity. That's a beautiful thing. You know, that's something to have in life.
Yeah, I agree. It makes me want to seek out somebody like that. But
she obviously doesn't want to be found either, though, because while he's mentioned her, he's never made her available to be found. So
that's right.
And maybe if she did, it would clue us into who he was.
Possibly.
Right? Because if her name was, you know, Jane Billabrook, right? And then you looked her up and you went, she used to live in, it wasn't in Iowa, it was in Illinois. It was in Aspirant with this guy named Jedediah Smith. And you go, oh, that's who he is. Because we're so terrified about being found out, aren't we, Jed?
Yeah,
I'm just fucking with you, Jed. Love all your work.
Chapters.
Not that you give a shit.
Chapters like that are good, but they're also very, I don't know.
There's that quality of peace, you know, that he's trying to show. He's doing it on purpose.
He's conveying a feel.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it, yeah. But I guess I don't have much to comment on that.
Yeah, because he's just showing the feel, kind of what maybe you should really be thinking about. Because there's this blissful state of service and gifting and community, this kind of a human adult kind of thing. And why are you talking about cutting your head off and going, fuck my fears, goddamn, you know? So he's just setting it up, keeping the balance.
Yeah, one that probably plays into the kind of the theme of the book, which is just, you know, using his life as an exposition. And
note the next chapter's title is Kill the Buddha. Motherfucker, who else? I killed Jesus. I killed the Jesus. Kill the Gandhi. Kill the Buddha. Like, why would you kill the Buddha? The most peaceful, you know? See, he's bookending this with some violence. Heartless, kill the Buddha. Heartless, kill the Buddha. In the middle, why really bother? Why are you chattering about this shit? Why indeed? Because we're driven, like we're on our fucking soul is on rails, groove to run. We cannot get off this fucking track. Okay, everybody. I think we'll wrap it up there. Any final words?
No, but I'm excited to go to the next one.
He is excited to kill the Buddha. We might do another one in a bit, but we'll see.
I didn't realize the chapter was so short.
But it's important now that we see it, right?
Yeah,
okay, everybody.
That makes sense.
We got, for purpose of cataloging this so that your life is easier looking at these later, we're going to stop now.
Yes.
Peace. I went to do peace and I did this, so that's funny.